Hey guys and girls, it's David with Beagles on Fire. Got my glasses on because I got to do a little reading of some notes I've made here for this next dog we're going to talk about. And if you hear the wind whipping in the background, we are having some high winds and it's been pouring down rain. I wouldn't be surprised if the power doesn't go out, but I wanted to get this done. So what we're going to talk about, this next type of dog we're going to talk about is a lead dog. And obviously a lead dog, a lot of people would put that as being a dog that's out front. Some people do refer to the lead dog as a front runner, meaning a dog that's always in the front or usually in the front as being a lead dog. It doesn't necessarily have to be a dog that's in the front. You can have a dog that controls a race from a different position other than the number one slot as you run. But lead dogs have certain characteristics. They are obviously called a lead dog because they get out there typically in the front and lead the pack. But if you don't have the right type of dog in the front, things can be screwed up quickly. And we will talk about some of those things and maybe some other type dogs we mentioned. But if you've got a dog that can handle the front, it can be great. If you have a dog that's trying to get in the front and not handling the front and messing everything up, you've got a disaster. And you say, well, what do you mean, David? Well, if you've got a good lead dog, that dog can get in the front and, man, he'll straighten stuff out, keep the race going, knows when the rabbit turned to shut up pretty quick from barking and not just running across. But you got some dogs that go out and they'll take the dogs way off the track if they're a dog that just what we call blows the race up. When they get out there, they can't handle the front. They want to try to handle the front, but they don't do it right. They're carrying people in the wrong direction, carrying dogs in the wrong direction. The rabbit may have turned and they have took on off and continuing to go straight on forward, and there's no rabbit anywhere under their nose. That would be a dog that's not doing what it needs to do as a lead dog in the front or a front runner dog. I had a dog named Maggie that never would run the front, but was a very much of a leader and kept the races going. She would control everything from around the fourth or fifth slot. She would slot up or slot back. She would change gears and run faster or slower, depending on what you put her with, but did not have to be in the front. But when the front dogs messed up and lost the track, she would go on with it. And so, like I said, it doesn't necessarily always mean that the dog's in the front, but for tonight's lesson, we're going to just call it a front dog, the front runner, the lead dog. And I did a little research on some different characteristics of what it takes to be a good leader. You know, when you're talking about what it takes to be a good lead dog, what you're looking for in a good lead dog is a dog that's true and honest and is not babbling on the wrong thing. And he's confident in what he does and a lot of other things that we're going to talk about. And I'll come back to that in just a minute. But I want to talk about what do we need to do as we try to be a leader. And you say, well, I'm not a leader. Well, you're a leader of something, whether you want to think of yourself as a leader or not. You know, there are natural born leaders, and then there's other skills of leadership that can be learned. And I'll try not to get hung up too terribly long on these different things, but there's 11 skills to look for in a leader. And hopefully you can find something here that you can say, okay, I need to do better at that, or I'm going to work on that one, or some of these may come a lot more easy to you than others. But these are things that we find ourselves in if we're going to lead something. If you own a business, if you're in a supervisory capacity at work, if you're married, not trying to say anything about, you're supposed to boss your wife around or anything, but you need to be a leader. There's a difference in being a leader and being bossy. But the skills that are needed, the number one skill is communication. And communication, you can't have a leader, you can hear about people that kind of lead silently by their example and things of that nature, but you have to have a form of communication to be an effective leader. And the most important part of that communication, believe it or not, is listening. And so, you have to not just talk all the time. You got to listen. If you're a leader and all you want to do is talk, then if you're not listening to those that you're trying to lead, then you soon will find no one's following you. I mean, how many times have you had people that you're supposed to be friends with and all they want to do is talk? My wife has someone that she calls on the phone, a friend. And when she calls the friend, all they want to do is talk. And at the end of the conversation, it's like, okay, well, basically glad I could call you so I could hear you speak, but you didn't listen to anything I said. There's people out there that just want to talk about themselves, talk about their own problems, instead of listening to anyone else and what may be going on. That's a person that's not a leader. If they're not listening, they cannot be a leader because they will not know any of the problems that are going on in the people they're trying to lead. So a good, effective leader has communication and listens. And then the second characteristics that you need to have as a leader is integrity. And, integrity is doing the right thing when no one else is watching. That's one person's definition, not my definition. I found that one. I thought it was a great definition of integrity. Doing the right thing when no one else is watching. And if you got a lead dog, you got to have a dog that's communicating. He's got to put out some sound if he's going to be a lead dog. He's got to let the other ones know, hey, I found the rabbit. But then he's got to also be willing to, if someone else finds a rabbit, he's got to be willing to go to them. A leader can't be one that's just, hey, if I didn't think of it and if I didn't come up with it, then it's not a good thing. You, as a leader, sometimes you have to listen to other people. A lot of times you have to listen to other people and get involved in what may not have been your original idea. Everything's not about you if you're a leader. We'll talk about that in a minute. But integrity, if you've got a dog that's a lead dog, it's going to have integrity. It's going to do the right thing. It's not going to get off on junk. We talked about trash runners. It's not going to do that if it's a good lead dog. Accountability is another characteristic that a good leader has. And accountability, you say, well, okay, so what does that mean exactly? Most time we think of accountability means, hey, I'm going to take the blame for stuff that goes on. Well, a good leader takes more than their share of the blame, and they take less than their fair share of the credit. They give credit to those that are working with them. I think of different people that I have been influenced by, and it was not about, hey, I'm just standing up here taking all the credit. Who wants to follow somebody that's always taking all the credit for everything? Maybe you work with someone who's your boss, and maybe you do something real well to make them successful, to make them look better, and they run around taking all the credit for it. It takes away your desire as a human to want to continue to make that person look good. So if you're a leader, you need to take more than your share of the blame, even if it wasn't your fault all the way. Take more than your share of the blame and take less than your share of the credit. Give credit to others. Another characteristic is empathy. And empathy is just simply understanding. You need to try to find out what's going on in some people's lives that you are leading and try to have some understanding for that. People don't want a bossy boss that, won't accept any excuse. He won't even listen to you. That's part of the communication. So he's not going to understand if he's not going to listen. And it doesn't mean that you have to always agree with a person underneath you when they give you excuses, but you should at least try to listen and understand. And then from there, if someone thinks you're trying to be understanding, they're more apt to listen to you. Humility, that's another characteristic of a leader. And that is one thing that's really missing in a lot of leadership today is humility. Pride makes us artificial was a good quote I found. It said, pride makes us artificial and humility makes us real. In the dog world, you don't see a whole lot of humility. You see a whole lot of guys bragging about how great they are, how great their dogs are. And when you listen to them talk, you go, that's a fake and phony person. You know, my dogs always run the rabbit. They never lose one. All this other bunch of made up garbage is just artificial. And it's talking about their pride. Now, it's okay to have pride, a right kind of pride. Take pride in what you do, means try to do your best. But you don't need to ever feel like that, you know, I am the man. I have done it, blah, 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 blah. People don't want to listen to someone who thinks they're all that. Humility goes a long way with a lot of people. And God has blessed us to be able to do a lot of things in life, and we need to give credit to Him. And if we stay humble, it'll keep us real. So don't be artificial. You know, you see a dog that maybe have a personality that it's all that. I've seen a few of them, and I like a dog that just does his job. He don't have to have everybody see what he does. He just does his job. Resilience is another characteristic of a leader. You know, a good leader is resilient. He will focus on solutions, not just the problem. Pretty much he's sees the problem, and then he starts focusing on solutions, not just, oh man, we got this problem. You know, the reason you need a leader is because if everybody's panicking, you need somebody that's going to say, this is what we need to do. A voice of reason, that's a leader. And so you need a resilience. And if you've got a lead dog, you need a resilient dog. You say, well, what do you mean? Well, when you got resilience as a leader, that means that you roll up your sleeves when times get difficult and you help solve the problem. A dog that's a lead dog is going to have resilience. He's going to be out there and he's going to do everything he can and give you 100% to find where that rabbit pulled the stunt at and how do you figure out the problem of trying to get back on the track. And he's going to stay. A lot of your lead dogs are going to be the type that are going to stay. Your good lead dogs are going to be the ones that are going to stay, be some of the last ones to give up and come out because they're doing everything they can to get that track rolling again when it's lost. And that's a sign of a good leader, is that they're going to do everything they can, even when times are difficult, to come up with a solution. And then there's a vision. A vision is another characteristic of a leader. You know, if nobody has a vision, then no ideas come out. Somebody has to have a vision for every business that's started and everything that's done. You know, in your marriage, you had a vision that, hey, we would make a good couple. If you never had that vision that you would make a good couple, chances are you never got married. There are some people every now and then that might just go out and go, well, I think I need to get married. It might as well be you. But it's very rare that you'd ever hear that, and very most likely it would not be successful. But the vision, I saw a great, when I was looking all this up, I saw a great definition of vision. Vision is the art of seeing what's invisible to others. You know, I never dreamed. I had a vision to have a kennel. I had a vision to do a few things. But as this started, the vision has gotten bigger. And there's constantly new things that come to mind as you do things. And so a lot of these things would be invisible to others, but they're visible to me as the leader of this business. And so, you know, when you have a vision and people see the vision, once you show them the vision that you have, it's a common goal they're trying to get to. But you are, as a leader, you're going to have the vision. You're going to do whatever you have to do to see that the vision gets accomplished. And so a good leader is going to see it through to the end. And then influence is another good characteristic of a leader. Influence, now that's not interchangeable with leadership, because you have to earn respect. It's not just given. You know, just because someone's a leader, you can walk in and go, I'm your boss, I'm your leader. But if you're going to have people to follow you, there's no saying, you'd rather have someone follow your leadership because they want to than because you made them do it and they have to. You think about your kids as a father. You want your kids to do what you've taught them to do, and you want them to respect you because they want to, not because you've made them to do that. Because if you've made somebody do something, that'll go away. If they want to do something, then you're going to be able to accomplish what you're trying to do. So to have influence on people, you have to earn their respect. And it's very important that we, as a leader, that we have influence over people in a positive way. There's a lot of leaders that have influence over people in a negative way. And then that brings to the next one is positivity is another great characteristic of a leader. You know, you don't add to stress by blaming others. You don't come in with this negative attitude. You stay positive. We will figure this out. May not have the solution right now, but we will keep on and we will figure this out. And that's another thing you see in that lead dog is he's going to be positive. He's going to keep trying. He's not just going to give up. And then there's another characteristic of a good leader is delegation. You teach others to do things. You have to give them a chance to do something and allow them an opportunity. A lot of times, the only way I can relate this really to dogs is a lot of times if you don't ever start to delegate the responsibility of your pack down to some younger dogs, your pack's going to all get old at the same time if their ages are not scattered. And then they're all going to be gone. So at some point, you have to bring in some blood and maybe delegate down because that lead dog is going to lose some speed at some point in his life as he gets older. He may not be able to continue to carry the front. But, you know, you think about a race that we see with beagles, and it's one dog behind the other, and it is one dog behind the other. If you see a whole pack of lead dogs, how would that work? Would they be running beside each other? So if you had 8 dogs, you'd have them all lined up side by side like the front line of a football team trying to run a rabbit. That wouldn't work. I've never seen that. That's just a weird thought. But we all can't be the lead dog everywhere we go. The last characteristic of a good leader is confidence. And you have to believe in yourself to have confidence, but you can't be so cocky and overconfident. You know, I read a scripture when I was looking this up that seemed to sum up the confidence, that we need to have the confidence as Christians. We need to have our confidence in Christ. Philippians 1:6 says, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus, meaning till we get home with our Heavenly Father. He's going to complete this good work, and he's going to carry it out. We just have to be willing to follow his leadership. But we can be confident in him. You know, a good lead dog has a lot of confidence. He knows what he's doing. He's going to get out there and do what he needs to do, and he's going to run the rabbit, and he's going to be confident. He's going to call out to others, come follow me. I got the rabbit, let's go. And the other ones are going to follow him. But I said a while ago, we can't all be the lead dog everywhere we go. I think a good leader, and it was not on this list of 11 things that I looked up, but I think a good leader also knows there are times when you need to follow. You get around other people and you need to learn that, hey, I'm not the lead dog right here. There's some people in life that have never learned that. They think they're all that everywhere they go. And they can be a pain in the rear end to deal with because they always think that they're in charge. You know, if you're humble and have that humility, when you go places to run your dogs, I mean, I've heard of people that, you know, they say, well, when I get invited somewhere, I just tell them how it is. I understand what they're trying to say, that, you know, they don't want somebody doing the wrong thing on a hunt and this and that. My deal is when I go somewhere, if I'm invited and someone else is, I look at it, they're in charge. So if I go somewhere else, you know, it's their hunt. I'm not going to do anything crazy with my dogs. If I see something really nuts going on, I'll give a safety talk and tell them, you know, to be careful around the dogs and what I expect, blah, 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 like that in a humble way. But if you go in there being a jerk, you know, nobody's going to follow a jerk. A jerk does not have these characteristics we talked about. Usually they have that pride, which makes them phony and fake and artificial. So if you're the right type leader, it doesn't mean you have to be mamby-pamby and just be so humble that you speak real. People mistake meekness for weakness and all those different things that people talk about. You can communicate the right way. You can listen to people. You can have that integrity of doing the right thing no matter what. People are drawn to that. They're drawn to somebody who's true and somebody who is a true leader with these characteristics. I don't want to go too long with this video. I know I've already went over 20 minutes, and I try to keep these down so I don't lose your attention. But I hope that you will find some of these characteristics that you'll work on these. I'm trying to work on these. I have to be a good leader as I go out and not just lead my dogs in the field, but as I go to work. I have people that I'm over that I have to communicate with and lead, and then different other areas of avenues I'm involved in. I have to be a leader, but I also have to know when to shut up, sit down, listen to other people who are leading other aspects of our life. So I hope this has been beneficial to you, and I hope that you're getting a lot out of this. We'll talk about another type dog tomorrow. We'll talk about some of these lead dogs that try to be lead dogs, that some of the characteristics some of them have that we've referred to as other dogs, and you'll see what I'm talking about if you tune back in. But I appreciate y'all watching, and I hope y'all have a very blessed evening.